My name is Donald Duquette. I was born in New Bedford, Massachusetts in 1928, and I went to grammar school in the town of Barnstable, Hyannis, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I went to high school at St. John's Prep School in Danvers, Massachusetts. And I graduated in 1946. After I graduated from high school, I went to Northeastern University for about 2 semesters.
Northeastern?
Northeastern University, that's in Boston.
What did you study?
I studied a general course at Northeastern, and I didn't care for it too much there. I was always wanted to be a photographer, so I quit there, and I went to photography school.
What school?
In New Haven, Connecticut. It was on the Yale University, and I was there for about a year, maybe a little less than a year.
Yale?
It was on the Yale University campus.
Okay.
It was a separate school that had nothing to do with Yale except being on that campus, which I found very nice. It was a nice town down there, New Haven. I knew quite a bit when I went there because of my experience, and but I really learned a lot there, yes.
So were you able to develop that experience in your school as a profession?
Yes.
What did you do? Tell me about that detail.
Well, I opened up a portrait studio here in Hyannis, and I took pictures of, which I didn't like to do, babies. I hated doing babies. I didn't like doing weddings. I liked doing portrait work and commercial work.
That's your favorite?
That's my favorite, yes.
But you were not able to do all the time because you have to do babies and...
That's right, yeah. Of course, babies and weddings, that's where the money is, you know, more so than portrait work. So.
How was this Cape Cod around that time in we're talking about late 1940s, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
How was it? How different from now?
Oh, quite a bit different. When I was growing up in town, there were only 8,000 inhabitants in the whole town. Now there's 48,000 people in this town. So it is quite a difference. You'd walk down Main Street, you'd know everybody, you could say hello, and you'd know everybody that you passed. It was that much of a nice little New England village.
So what happened? How did you end up being a Korean War veteran?
Well, to be a veteran, I went to career. I went to career, served in career.
Were you drafted or enlisted?
No, when I got out of school, I enlisted in the Army.
When was it?
This was in 1947, around there.
1947?
Mm-hmm. Seeing the returning veterans from World War II, I really thought a lot of them, and that was my ideal, was to go in and serve the country and you know, at the tail end of World War II.
Nobody forced you to serve, right? And you were making money, right?
Not that much money. No, it was, I just wanted to be in the Army, you know.
That's a noble decision to make.
Well, I don't know how noble it was, but it was, I enjoyed it, you know. And so I went and served in Japan, occupation forces in Japan.
Oh. Right away? I mean, you got the basic training.
Basic training, then right away shipped to Japan.
Where did you get the basic training?
A fort in Kentucky. I can't remember the name of the fort where it was, but it was in Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
And what was your specialty? Rifleman or infantry?
No, just an infantryman to begin with. Like everyone else, they all trained for infantry.
And then where did you leave from the state to the Japan?
Well, I left from Boston, Massachusetts, and got sent for basic training, you know, and got through with basic training and got sent to Japan. Left from California.
California?
Yeah, on a troop ship. Went to Japan.
How long did it take to get to Japan?
Oh, God, at least a month, I guess it was. It was terrible.
A month?
I think it was either 3 or 4 weeks to get there, yeah.
Wow. Usually it takes about 14 days.
Yeah.
Weeks. What happened to your ship?
It was a slow ship, I guess. Slow ship to Japan. Yeah, it was not a good trip.
Anything you remember in that ship while you were there?
Just that the sleeping conditions weren't too great. That they were stacked, I think, either 3 or 4 tiers high. and a lot of people got seasick. It was not nice. I spent as much time on top, up on the deck as I could instead of being down in the hold.
Because the smell?
And the smell and just the closeness of everyone.
Everybody's throwing up, right?
More or less.
Yeah.
The weather wasn't too great. Maybe that's why it took so long. I don't know.
What was the reaction from your family when you decided to join the Army in 1947 without being drafted?
Well, they didn't say it was not a good idea. They didn't say it was a bad idea. They just went along with what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, how your family? How many brothers and sisters?
I have one sister. And no brothers.
No brothers.
My father was a druggist. He had 2 drugstores in town here. That was the extent of the family.
So tell me about how you feel about Japan when you first arrived.
Well, it was pretty near the end of the war over there, and it was kind of old-time Oriental towns, I guess. It was nothing new like it is now, of course. It was people with the wooden shoes, and it was different to me, and I enjoyed it. There was no fighting at the time, it was just strictly occupation.
Right, 1947.
Yeah, I was only there for a year.
So where
but,
were you located in Japan?
the southern island, Kokura, the southernmost island in the town of Kokura.
What did you do in that isolated
At that time, I was assigned as a recon driver, and the only thing that we did of any substance was we went to the different coal mines, I guess you'd say, just to see if there were any Japanese still, in the mines that didn't want to surrender to the American forces.
Oh.
So that was kind of interesting.
Were there any dangerous
We never-
moments there?
Any what?
Dangerous moments?
No. In fact, before I left, they were even building Coca-Cola plants there. So I would say, it was not dangerous whatsoever.
How much were you paid? Do you remember?
I think it was $25 a month.
That's it?
Yeah. I think that was the pay scale at that time. I'm not sure, but I think it was that. And there was nothing to spend money on anyway.
So what did you do with your money? Did you wire back?
Usually sent whatever I had home, yeah.
Uh-huh. So you were a nice boy.
I was a nice boy.
Huh?
Maybe.
You didn't spend any money in Japan? What did you do over the
Oh, I
weekend?
did. I bought my mother a set of china because, of course, the Japanese made good china, dinnerware.
Yeah. What was the most interesting thing in Japan to you?
Just the difference in the way the people, the Japanese people. I had never seen Orientals in any numbers like that before, and it was interesting. I thought they wouldn't like Americans, but they turned out they did like Americans, which was pretty neat.
Did you carry the camera with you?
I was not doing photography at that time in Korea. I was in this recon
You
troop.
mean in Japan?
I mean in Japan, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
I don't know.
You used to be a professional
I know.
photographer.
I know.
Even commercial.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Have you been into Tokyo or close to MacArthur's headquarters?
Never got to Tokyo. No.
No.
No. It was mostly all in the south of Japan. Southern
Then,
Japan.
how did you end up being a Korean War veteran from there?
Okay. I was discharged from the Army. I was only in for perhaps a year and a half.
Okay, so it must be around 1949,
40, yeah, about 49, right, right.
right? And then?
And then I had my studio. And let's see, getting the times mixed up here. I told you that I joined, did I tell you I joined the reserves?
No.
Okay, I joined the...
So after you were discharged, you joined the...
I joined the reserves, right.
you come back to Cape Cod?
Came back to Cape Cod doing photography. And I think it was in August of 1950, I got a mail It was a telegraph, actually, saying to report to Boston Navy base, I think it was, that I was on my way to Korea.
Whoa.
I had forgotten that I was in the reserves. So it was quite a shock to me to get that letter.
Have you known anything about Korea before?
No.
You didn't learn anything about Korea from high school history?
No.
Oh boy.
Never heard of Korea before. But after I got that letter, I learned a little about Korea.
What did you learn?
I learned that I didn't want to go there.
To be
No,
honest
no.
with you, right?
Yeah, right. But it was a shock. Let's see what happened then. Okay, I got the notice to report to Boston Army base, and then from there I forgot the name of the camp in Kentucky, but I went to that camp, and it was a very short time I was there. We just went to the rifle range, fired the rifles, and then I got stuck. Then I got told I was going to Camp Stoneman in Washington State. I think it was Washington State. And that's when I was being shipped out to Korea.
Again, in the sea,
Yes,
in the ship.
yes. Now, that was a very short trip that time. The boats must have been going a little faster then. But then I landed in, it wasn't Tokyo we landed in, I can't remember.
Sasebo, Yokohama, Sasebo?
I think it was Sasebo, yeah.
When was it? So it must be around
That was, I got called,
September.
I got recalled in August, so it was the end of September that I landed in Japan, yeah. And then from Japan, we took what they used to call LSTs with Japanese sailors on it, and we went to Korea and landed in Pusan.
Pusan?
Yep.
Do you remember the first sort of scenery or feeling about Korea when you arrived for the first
Well,
time?
yeah, I kind of do. It was, of course, the harbor there was very shallow at the time. I think we had to wait for the tide. I'm not sure. But it's funny, you could smell Korea for some reason or other. Have you heard that before?
What smell is it?
I don't know. Maybe it was the kimchi. I don't know. No. But it was different. You know, maybe just coming off the boat. I don't know. But that's how it affected me at the first glance.
Must be disgusting to you.
It wasn't absolutely disgusting, but it was different. So we got off the boat, and right away we boarded trains. And we went...
How was the scenery? I mean, were you everything devastated? Everybody...
At that time, no, not at that time. There was no devastation in Pusan at the time. This was early 50s, so...
Exactly.
Nothing
happened in Busan?
Not right where we landed, no. But everyone was, all the soldiers were armed. I mean, you know, everyone was armed.
And people knew that North Korea attacked, so that...
Absolutely, yes.
Describe the sort of scenes there. How people behave and so on.
Well, like I said, right away we were lined up and taken and put on a train. So at Pusan, I didn't have much, time to see many things.
So where did you go from there?
Well, from there we went to, I think it was Daegu. And from Daegu is when we started our hike north. I was with the 25th Division. I hadn't yet got to my unit. I hadn't got to the 25th. I forgot exactly where they were in Korea. But when I got there, it was very cold. Even though it was that time of year, it wasn't, it seemed cold to me. And I went to a big CP tent, the big tents that they had, and I met the officer of the photo section that I was in, and introduced myself. And he said, "This was at night." He said, "Just go over there next to the stove." It was one of those stoves with the gasoline dripping all the time, And so that was it. That was my introduction to it was called the photo section of the 25th Infantry Division.
How did you end up? Did you say that you are the photographer, or?
No, they knew I was coming. They knew
Okay.
I was a replacement.
File. Yeah.
I was a replacement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what was your job description? What were you assigned to do?
Okay, my job was to.
It's in Daegu, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My job was to go out within the whole division and just take pictures of action. That was it. And in that division, I went through the three regiments. We had the 24th, 27th, and 35th regiments, and also later on was a Turks were there, the Turkish brigade. They were the second ones that I stayed with over there. The first regiment was the 24th regiment. That was the all-black regiment.
Wasn't it strange for you not to engage in a battle, but taking pictures of others engaging in a battle?
Well, to me it wasn't strange. I don't know. That was my job. I had a pistol, a .45 pistol, and I never used it. I never used the pistol. I never shot at anyone, just cameras. I don't think it was strange, no. I mean, if I were a truck driver, I'd be driving a truck. Or if I was an infantryman, I'd be carrying a M1 rifle. I don't know. No, it was not strange.
Have you ever thought that you would be a army photographer in the war?
Never. I never thought that at all, no. The good thing about being a photographer then was that once I left the company, I was hanging around with all the correspondents. That was a real good part of my whole stay there. I was always with the correspondents, and the correspondents would always get
special treat.
Special treatment. They'd go to special meetings with all the brass, and the G2 people would give them tell them what was going on, where it was going on, and the correspondents would take off in the Jeep and go where the action was. That was about it. And I found that very exciting. It was really exciting. Mm-hmm. And I met some good correspondents over there. In fact, this one, I showed you the picture of Jim Pringle. He was an associate press photographer, and I used to hang out with him most of the time. And I liked him. He was a nice guy.
How many correspondents there?
Oh, there were just in one group, 4 or 5 that you'd see, Mm-hmm. Yeah. Different Associated Press, UPI, all the different outfits, all the different news agencies would be there.
How do they behave?
How did they behave?
Yeah.
Geez, I don't know. They were almost like a GI. I mean, they wore same GI clothing, most of them, except the New York Times correspondent. He really had it made. I guess all the other correspondents were a little jealous of him because he had all the latest equipment. He had the best sleeping bag, the best clothing, the best typewriter. Everything about him was the best. That was the New York Times.
All private belongings?
Yeah.
Army didn't provide anything?
To the correspondents? No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
This is a picture of myself and Jim Pringle.
Where are you?
I am in the center,
Okay.
and Jim is to my right.
Mm-hmm. So here, right?
This one here, that's Jim Pringle.
And he is the AP?
He's the AP photographer that I hung out with most of the time.
What about the other one? You don't remember?
I don't remember.
So, how dangerous was your mission? You have to go with the soldiers in the front line? Or
Yes.
Tell me about the kind of typical day and different cases of where your mission was and so on.
Well, there was a lot of walking around to begin with. We'd go down to company strength and then squad strength to go out to take the pictures. So most photographers that I know of were always looking to get action pictures. Yeah. Everybody wanted to get a bayonet attack, and there were very few of those over there. But we took pictures of everything that was going on. Whether it was if we were assigned to an artillery outfit, We took pictures of the big artillery guns firing. If we were, whatever was going on, we took pictures of. Is what it amounted to.
So there were many occasions where that you took the picture while the real.
Yes, while the fighting was going on. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How dangerous?
They were firing. They were shooting at each other, so I guess it was, if you want to call it dangerous, I don't know.
Were there any moment that you might be killed?
I can think of one time that really was upsetting. It was in February. It was when we crossed the Han River again. The Chinese were shooting artillery shells at our advancing troops before we were over the river, on this side of the river, and I was in a hole, and artillery shells came really close. Everyone was in a hole, and that lasted for quite a long time, the artillery barrage that they were sending. And of course, we were sending the same thing over to them. So, but it finally stopped, and our troops got on small assault boats, crossed the river, and the artillery stopped at that point. I took a picture of, I'll show that to you, of John Allen, who was with the 35th Infantry in the 25th Division, and it was a picture of him going up a hill. And outside of Suwon, and that picture got published all over the world. It was.
Can you show me?
Yes. This is a picture of John Allen. He was with the 35th Regiment of the 25th Division. He's going up a hill, and this is right outside of Suwon, Korea. And the 35th was ready to advance up a hill outside of Suwon to engage with the enemy. His name is John Allen. He's from Pennsylvania.
And why do you think it's so special, and why it was become so popular?
In papers all over the country, and the New York Times had in their weekly Sunday magazine section.
Yeah.
They published it in that.
Mm-hmm. What made that picture so popular? Why is it so special?
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's a good picture?
I feel like we are in a very positive mood. Moving forward with some kind of hope that we can win this war. That's the kind of
more or less, yeah. It was kind of a follow me type thing, you know. And,
follow me, yeah.
Follow me, yeah. Right. I know when after I took this, about 3 or 4 days after I took it, all of my stuff was sent to Japan to be developed and printed, and from there it was sent to the different news agencies or whoever wanted to use it. And I remember the information officer in my division told me that he had gone there and he had seen this picture in one of the offices in a great big blow-up, and he congratulated me on being one of the best pictures. So.
Were you awarded on that?
No.
Were you paid extra?
No.
What's going on here?
Yeah. No, I wasn't. No.
So you don't have copyright on that?
Absolutely not, no.
So who has copyright on it?
National Archives, Department of Defense. I was only in Korea for 11 months. And then a ruling came down that all those inactive reserves that were recalled would be sent home. And I got word to leave. And
when was it?
It was in the end of May.
Of 1952?
1951.
51, right.
I was only there from 50 to 51 during those years.
Remember that day that you were...
I did remember that day, and I wanted to make sure that I got some of the photos that I had taken. So I went to we had a van truck that was with our photo section. I tried to scrounge as many of my photos as I could and bring them with me home. So that's how I got the photos I have. I more or less stole them, I guess.
Must have been the happiest moment in your service, right?
Yes, it was. But I'd met, some people over there that I really enjoyed, and but I was glad to get home.
What was the most difficult memory or time during your service?
As far as my job over there
Yeah,
goes?
yeah.
Well, I remember one time at Cooneree, it was really a lot of fighting there, and I almost thought that I would make it during that battle of Cooneree. That was at the same time, I think it was February, 1st of February, around February 6th or 7th. And that's the same time that the Marines were at the reservoir. You've heard of them at the reservoir. The same time period as that. That's when the Chinese really came down on us. And it looked like I wasn't going to make it. We all felt that way. All the different units were trying to get south, and there was only one or two roads to get south. And trucks were disabled, so what they'd do is they'd destroy the trucks and everything in it. A lot of supplies were destroyed. They didn't want the Chinese to get the supplies. And it was quite a trip south. And I remember that very well. So.
Did you write back to your family? Were you?
I didn't write too much, no.
Did you have a girlfriend at the time, or any friends? Remember that you wrote back to them?
Well, yeah, I had a girlfriend, but very seldom did I write. I wasn't much of a letter writer. I wrote to my mother more than anyone. I knew she'd worried, so wrote to her.
Do you still keep that letters?
No.
No?
A lot of guys kept letters, but I didn't. I had an address book that I wish I'd kept of other guys that I met, but I didn't. I lost that somehow. I never had that either.
What is your photographic image of Korean scenery, Korean landscape?
Well, it was kind of like a treeless landscape. I don't remember many trees. It was mostly small, scrubby things. I didn't care for Korea at all. They call it the land of the morning calm, but I wasn't impressed with Korea. No.
What kind of equipment did you work with?
Kind of camera?
Yeah.
It was a speed graphic. It was a news-type camera, great big camera that today I guess they use all small digital cameras. It was, I don't know how many pounds it weighed, but we used to have, it was 4 by 5 inch negative that we'd have, and I used to carry it in a pouch. I used to carry what were called film packs. They were films that you'd have 12 to a pack. You took a picture and you pulled a piece of paper out, and the next film would show up. And then we'd give our exposed film to runners that would bring it back to our photo section, and they'd send it on to Japan to be developed.
So how many cameras did you always carry? Just one?
Just one.
Just one?
Yep.
Huh. You didn't have extra?
No. No extra cameras. One was enough to carry.
Did many soldiers carry their own cameras?
I never saw a soldier with a camera in any time I was there.
Really?
Yeah, why? This was the first year of the war. People they weren't taking pictures that I know of.
Most of the Korean War veterans that I had interviewed so far, they seem to have all their own cameras with them. So.
Maybe it all depends where they were, what the job was. I don't know. I know that I never saw an infantryman in a company-size location with a camera.
That seems to be reasonable, and that should be the way it was, because it was not picnic, it was war.
Maybe today they could, because it'd be a very small camera and they could stick it in the pocket. But in those days, the smallest camera, I believe, would be a 35 millimeter camera, and of course that would be pretty chunky.
Big is it? Bigger than?
Probably like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The lens would stick out, though,
Right.
So no, I never. Maybe I was in there. I was always. You could say I was always near the front lines.
How did the Korean War affect your life and your career?
Well, when I came home from the Korean War, it affected my career in that I was no longer going to do photography work.
Why not?
Well, I got married, and I started doing weddings again in my spare time. First of all, I had to have some money, so there was no money in photography really on the Cape. So I started doing photography, weddings, and I hated that. So in the meantime, I got married and started a family, and I needed money, so I got a job with the telephone company. And, of course, that ended my photo career right there. So
what do you think? How did it affect you, the Korean War?
how did it, well, like some veterans, I enjoyed what I did over there. I think I had a good time. What I did, I enjoyed doing.
Yeah, you were a special case, right?
More or less. I was on my own all the time. Nobody told me, other than go out and take some pictures. That's all. That's about all he said, And once in a while, I'd be called back to take photos of Ridgway when he was there, when General MacArthur came. They'd call me. I don't know, maybe because they knew I was a portrait photographer. I don't know. They'd call me back to take pictures of him, wherever he was on the line. Mark Clark, all the big shots. Then I took pictures of the officers in my division for the division history. Those are the things I didn't do when I was out with the troops.
How was MacArthur to you?
He liked to have his picture. He liked to have his picture taken. I mean, he's probably got more pictures of him than any other general in history, I think. Mark Clark, I was told never to take a profile picture of Mark Clark.
Any entertainers from America?
Bob Hope.
Bob Hope? You did take a picture?
Marilyn Maxwell and Bob Hope.
Marilyn Maxwell?
She came with Bob Hope.
Marilyn Maxwell, I don't know.
She's a blonde, good-looking girl. GIs liked her.
Did you have a chance to talk to her?
No.
No?
No.
How about
I mean, there's a
Bob
big crowd, people, and you just take pictures of the stage,
Hope? Tell them that you are taking pictures. Get away.
Well, there's a bunch of photographers taking pictures. Every unit has photographers, and they're all movie camera. The movie guys, they used to call movie guys, and like me, they'd call it still photographers, because we had, the speed graphic.
So do I have a Marilyn Maxwell there?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know whether I got her or not. But that was, that was just one day. That was a fluky thing,
Who are the most impressive VIPs you've ever taken the picture?
Well, you could say MacArthur, I guess. MacArthur and Ridgway. I thought Ridgway was a great general. I mean, he was a real. He actually talked to me.
Wow, what did he say?
Just almost questions like you're asking. What do you think? What's going on? Things like that. And it wasn't maybe 10 or 15 minutes. It's pretty neat.
What did you say to him?
I don't remember exactly what I said to him. I don't remember exactly what I said.
Were you impressed with him?
Very, very impressed. He's the general at war. People think he had 2 grenades on his belt, but he didn't. He had 1 grenade and also a first aid package on his belt. You can see it in the pictures. But he was a real general.
You've never been back to Korea?
I don't want to go back. No, I've never been back. No.
You don't want to go back?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, what would I see? I wouldn't see anything that looked like it was when I was there to begin with. I don't think.
You're right.
I mean, I think probably Seoul is more modern than New York City.
Yeah, it's bigger and modern. What do you think is the legacy of Korean War and the Korean War veterans? If you know of what happened after the Korean War to Korea and Korean people?
I think the Korean people really like the American soldier. I really believe that.
Why?
I mean, every year they pay to bring us over there, and they put us up over there, feed us. I think they're very grateful that we did what we did.
No other country did that to American soldiers?
Not that I know of. I think France, I've heard I'm in the VFW, and one of the members of the VFW said that the French, once in a while, would give them, a dinner or something like that. But I've never heard of any other country doing it. And Korea does this year after year after year. They've been doing it for now, 60 years? It's amazing. And here you are. Well, I think that all the Korean War veterans can look at Korea and say, I helped make Korea what it is today. You know, I think we all feel that way, the veterans anyway. I hope that's the way the Korean people think that of us too.
Oh yeah.
I never personally got friendly with any Korean when I was over there. The only Korean that I was friendly with was in our photo unit. We had a Korean that, when I was doing the portraits of the generals, he retouched the photos for me. You know what I mean by retouching? He retouched the photos, and he gave us haircuts, and that's the only Korean that I was ever familiar with.
Any message to the young generations about the war and your experience?
I have a grandson now that did 2 years in Iraq and 1 year in Afghanistan, spent 7 years in the service, and he got out. Right now he's back. He just got out, and he's on Cape Cod. And I'm very proud of him that he did what he did. You know, I think every child, every adult kid should join the service for 2 or 3 years.
I want to present a medal and
A medal, huh?
certificate of Ambassador for Peace. Your name in Korean, Don Duquette. Is that sounds okay?
Yes.
Right. Let me see your face. Okay, thank you very much, Don.
Thank you.